Okay, I got everything torn down and looking everything over. I'm starting with this wiring loom since that was kind of one of the main concerns. And I can see the discoloration, burning, whatever you want to call it here. But what I've done is I've unraveled the loom enough that I can pull these down. And when you pull this down and you look at the actual wires, there's a few of these things that are all kind of the same thing. But if you look at the wire underneath is fine. So although this took a little bit of damage, this outer sheathing, these things are wrapped pretty heavily with plastic sheathing and tape, and so the wires underneath are fine. There's no damage to this stuff under here. As you can see, these things are all perfectly fine. I pulled all these back and inspected the wires underneath. So the only real damage that I found, and it's not really from that fire or heat, is you've got a couple. It looks like it's just brittle here, like it's cracked, like this plug is. I can see exposed wire, so I would be inclined to snip that off and replace that plug. And then over here again, we've got kind of the same situation. This is a real minor thing right here. This goes out to the condenser up on your valve cover. That basically just kills radio noise. And so yeah, I mean, you want to have that functioning, but it's not like this is super critical. And again, I would just cut that right there and then solder it so that you've got a better connection. Everything else looks fine. These boots being torn, that's really common. I don't even know if I've got any over there that I could replace this loom with that wouldn't have these torn boots. So best case scenario, I could replace this entire loom for the purposes of eliminating this bad joint and this bad joint, but more than likely we're still gonna be left with this, So my recommendation, like I said, is just make some repairs here and here. That'll take me about 30 minutes, and I can fix those, and then I can tape this loom all back up, and it will be fine. But it's up to you. If you want a different loom, just because you don't like this one, you've got problems or suspicion with it, I can dig another one out. That's not a problem. I'm just trying to save you money. A good loom that I can sell to somebody and know that it's in good shape and everything. I mean, that's $100, Okay, I tested the throttle position sensor, and it is working properly and adjusted properly. I tested the idle air control valve, and it is working properly. Looks like all this stuff is good or new. These hoses are always a concern. It does look like these have been replaced at some point. They don't look bad to me, but I don't know how old they are. They're still, pliable, although they do look somewhat aged. So, they're not expensive. I think this, all of these together are maybe $30. So, to be honest with you, if you're not wanting to take this thing apart, anytime soon, I would say let's spend the $30 and just get new hoses for it. Not to say that these would give you a problem, but these are not fun to replace with the intake on the truck, and certainly not on the side of the highway. That is no fun at all. I've been there and done that. Other than that, everything looks good. Looks like you got new EGR. I'm going to clean out the EGR passage. Those are pretty commonly blocked. I don't imagine that it's something that you got to, but I probably can't see it with the bad lighting, but right down in there, that's the EGR passage, and those get clogged up. So I'm going to soak this and clean the EGR passage out. But all of that looks fine. Thermostat housing, there's not much going on. Obviously, you've got a broken thermal vacuum valve, and I don't even have one to offer you. But these are not critical. This performs an odd function that I can get into with you if you want to talk about it later. But the way that it still has the nipple, it will still work. And ideally, you don't ever want this thing to work, because it actually only works when the motor is running extremely hot, when you've got steam in the cooling system, and it opens and closes to cycle the engine speed in order to assist in cooling. So it's not critical, and it will function fine as is, even with this broken right here.